Okay, so we're both, yeah, we don't know.
All right, good morning. Welcome to the Marshall County Board of Supervisors regular session here, 9 a.m. in the courthouse, first floor meeting room. Notice to the public, the Board of Supervisors welcomes comments from the public during time allowed for discussion. You're requested to approach the podium. Right over here, use the microphone for recording. State your name and address for the record and limit the time used to present your remarks in order that others may be given the opportunity to speak. The normal process on any agenda item is for the chair to read the item from the agenda, and the board is given an opportunity to comment on the issue and or place a motion on the floor. An opportunity for discussion may be presented, at which time the public may participate, and a roll call will follow. We'll start with roll call, please.
Heil.
Yes.
Solosik.
Yes.
Hibbs.
Yes.
All right, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve today's agenda?
I'd make a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Solosik.
Yes.
Hibbs.
Yes.
Heil.
Yes. And on to the consent agenda. 5A, approve claims as audited and authorize the auditor and recorder to issue payment of the same. The listing of the claims paid at this meeting and all claims paid in the current month will be published as part of the first meeting of the following month. And that is the end of today's consent agenda.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All right, we have the motion and the second. Do we have any discussion? Roll call, please.
Solosik.
Yes.
Hibbs.
Yes.
Heil.
Yes. Number 7, program update. David Hicks, YSS of Marshall County with the quarterly report. Good morning, David.
Good morning, everybody. Congratulations, Nan.
Thank you.
Probably a late night for you, I imagine.
Yes,
Good morning.
and then you just can't go to bed, you know, you're wound up.
David Hicks, Director of YSS of Marshall County, 22 North Center Street. I've attached my first quarter report for this fiscal year. Kind of doing a historical looking back. Board of Supervisors were our first funder 41 years ago, and we established YSS back in the day. So pretty much was our building block to where we are now. So again, we just appreciate the ongoing funding. So we receive $11,000 from the county, and we kind of split that up. So we have $8,000 that is split up into chunks, $2,000 payments that we use for anytime we're going out to the schools in the county, walk-ins, any sort of time where we need to provide some sort of either on-site or in-office services, sight unseen, they're not a current client. And then the remainder, $3,000, is billed per unit of service. If we bring them on as a client and they are underinsured, no insured, reside in the county somewhere, then we can then start some services going before we establish some sort of ongoing payment plan, whether it's sliding fee scale, which this supports, or private insurance, or Title 19. So, so far this quarter, July, August, and September, 45 crisis or early interventions, which could be somebody coming into the office or us going out to the schools or into the community based on need. I attached an ongoing case, and then some short-term cases as well. On the back side, I included, I believe, just some of our challenge issues of just homelessness, not only in the city of Marshalltown, but we're seeing some people out in the county areas as well, being brought to the city of Marshalltown so that we can start to either look at our transitional living program, rapid rehousing, which those are federal grants. But again, these funds help tie us to residents in the county areas and even in the city who need services but may not have a means to pay. So it supports our sliding fee scale, crisis walk-ins, or if there's a need in a rural school, we can be of assistance to them as well. Questions?
David, what schools in the county are you in? I know you're in Marshalltown.
Certainly Marshalltown, and then we can reach out to East Marshall and West Marshall as well.
Are you currently doing any programs in the schools, or is it mainly services for kids in crisis?
Services for those kids. We aren't doing any groups in those schools, but we certainly have clients that attend those schools. Yeah. Usually doing family therapy with those kids. So we may see them at the school, but ultimately we want to see them either in the office or in the home with their family so we can work through the dynamic of whatever's going on in the home. Certainly just don't want to see them at school. And there's some limitations with our services as well. We don't want to keep pulling them out of class. You know, we obviously want them in school and certainly see them in the office or in their homes.
Have you been able to make a connection with the sheriff's department with impact?
Yeah, so these dollars really don't have anything to do with impact.
Right.
But yes, we have had several conversations of the need in the county using our impact resources to go out in the county. Just had a call last Friday. A service provider here in town was working with somebody who's leaving the jail on Saturday and said, hey, what services do you have for this person leaving the jail? I said, well, right now we don't really have anything for them. And the plan was for that agency to pick them up from the jail, drop them off at the Marshalltown Police Department, then it becomes part of Impact's responsibility. And I said, that's a conversation between City of Marshalltown and the jail, the sheriff's office, so they are just a dumping ground to take care of that. So we have had calls from the sheriff's office to go out to rural towns and to assist families there. But we have a protocol with that, make sure it's approved through our supervisors within the Marshalltown Police Department, and then more often than not, we've assisted those folks out in the county. Yep. Needs exist out there as they do here in town.
What would you like to see the county and the city do to make things maybe a little easier to work with, maybe work with the county?
In terms of
Is it just
impact?
amount? Yeah. Is it a matter of dollars?
Yeah, it is a matter of dollars. You know, we have a good relationship with the Sheriff's Department. Like I said, the needs are still out there in the county. Be great to have 3-4 full-time advocates that could cover city and county, and that, you know, there's some transportation costs with that. If we have a person specifically just for the county, you know, we'll need another vehicle, so there's a cost there. But we see that we could replicate what we do here in Marshalltown on a county level. We already have good relationships established, and I think that's really the key. It's good partnerships, good resources already established, and Impact has certainly made a name for itself. No reason to believe that we cannot make it work in a county area. Just need the funds to do it.
Sounds like there would be $300,000 to $400,000 worth of need there financially to.
Yeah, our city impact budget is probably $150,000, $160,000. But of course, with the county, we would have to look at additional transportation costs, another vehicle.
Yeah.
We're working closely with utilizing opioid dollars, so we've made an application there.
And you have 2 impact social workers?
2 full-time impact social workers. So they are working, like I said, full-time. We do 6 days a week. We had been doing 7, but based on the police surveys, they wanted extra coverage. They always just want another advocate. So we've pulled them off Sundays, and then we're having them work 2 days during the week starting at 9. So we're kind of doing a 9 to 5, and then the other advocate comes on and goes 2 till midnight. So we have coverage, almost full-day coverage twice a week. And that's worked out well. And we work with the police department on surveying their needs to make sure we're getting, they're getting the services and resources they need. Currently, Impact is being researched by Dr. Wendy Ringenberg from basically the state's juvenile justice system, because she feels and the state feels that Impact is a worthwhile project, worthy of expansion. Cities and counties can certainly pick up what we're doing. And so she's doing the quantitative and qualitative data to determine are the outputs there, is it saving money, and ultimately we believe it's saving lives. So I think that should be done by the end of the year, and that will be sent out for people to look at, and municipalities and counties to check out.
Does YSS do impact in other communities?
We do not. This is kind of our little
So
brainchild.
not in Story County at all?
No, our Story County office wants us to do that, and we have the blueprint to do it, but ultimately it comes down to relationships. The agency and law enforcement community really need to have a working relationship, and the city and the county, so you need to have all pieces in place to really make it worthwhile. It's just really about relationships.
Yeah, it's a good thing we all get along so well here.
Have to. This town is small enough, we have to make it work.
Great. Thank you, David. Thanks for all that you do and your team. It's a great service you guys do. So thanks for the report as well.
Thank you all.
On to number 8, 2024 County Weed Commissioner Certification Form and Weed Commissioner Report. We have that on file, and we have Tyler today for a report.
Good morning. Okay, so this is the Weed Commissioner report. It's required by all counties in Iowa to submit an annual report to the State Weed Commissioner. It just goes over the noxious weeds that are on file, any of the invasive plants that counties are seeing having problems with in the county, and it allows the State Weed Commissioner to have a better grasp of the county or the state as a whole. Our report, it has been done in the past by past weed commissioners. There was several, so 19 unreported noxious weed species were found during the survey that hadn't been reported in the past. That's probably because of misidentification, or maybe somebody thought something was something that it wasn't. 2 of the noxious weed species were found to be a problem in the county, and that's in right-of-way, natural areas, and coming into farm ground is teasel and poison hemlock. Found that just about across the county, every township, it's prevalent. It's becoming a problem. Not near as a problem as it is in some other counties, but we are seeing a lot more and more of it. 3 of the 5 invasive prohibited plants. So as part of the state noxious weed law, they do have prohibited plants, which would mean you can't sell these in nurseries. You can't sell them as hobby plants. Those are differently categorized than the state noxious weed list, but you're not allowed to sell them. You're not allowed to transport. You're not allowed to grow them. And some of these plants are more problematic in woodlands, and we did find those in natural areas as well. I talked with Marshall County Conservation's Natural Resource Manager. They're on top of things. They are actively managing all the problem weed species that they did report in their natural areas. I think further outreach needs to be done with the producers and some of the co-ops across the county as far as IDing some of these new noxious and invasive plants that we're having, because I did get a lot of questions when I called around as part of the survey is, hey, what does this look like? Where can I find a picture of it? So I think in the future I may be looking into doing some lunch and learn programs at the various city halls to get out there and do a little bit more outreach with them. And then also with the city officials, both in the smaller municipalities and the city of Marshalltown, for ID and management as well. That's pretty much all I got.
Anything surprise you in your first scan of over things?
So I've been a lifelong resident of Marshall County, and going down some of these roads I'd never been on before, I was real surprised in some of the areas where I thought there wouldn't be a problem, that there was. Like I say, I've never drove down all the gravel roads, and I only covered a third of the county on this survey. But I know teasel and poison hemlock are a problem countywide. All the weed commissioner conferences I've been to, it's a problem there. It's a problem in most of the Midwest states. From some of the national conferences I've been to, it's a problem that we're dealing with. It's easier to control. I think it's just getting out there and getting the outreach and working with the different organizations to cooperatively manage some of these species.
Is this annual?
Yes.
An annual report?
Yep,
Okay.
it's November. I will always give a report on this, and then it has to be submitted to the state weed commissioner in December. Then usually January, February, they release the statewide results to the weed commissioners of Iowa.
Is poison hemlock controlled by 2,4-D, or how is?
Yeah, you could add some of the 2,4-D blends with triclopyr 3A, Garland 3A, or Tahoe 3A work a little bit better on it than just straight 2,4-D. Crossbow, I know a lot of the agricultural people I talked to, they were using Crossbow a lot on it and had no problem. The biggest thing they said an issue was they didn't know what it was until it was too big of a problem, and it was 10 foot tall instead of 4 foot tall. So
Is that how big Boys and
it'll get pretty big. Over in Nevada, I mowed, forests of it. It was taller than mulberry trees. Yeah.
Any further questions for Tyler? Thanks for the report. It's very good. Appreciate the information.
I'll make a motion that we accept the report to file, the 2024 Weed Commissioner Certification Form and Weed Commissioner Report, and authorize the chair to sign.
And I'll second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Solosik.
Yes.
Hibbs.
Yes?
Heil.
Yes. Number 9, discussion possible action, Marshall County Conservation Exemption to Personnel Policy, Section 4.3 regarding compensatory time. Proposed exemption, Conservation Department only at the Director's discretion. Marshall County Conservation non-exempt employees shall be able to require compensatory time at 1 1/2 hours for each hour of overtime. The maximum compensatory time that an employee may accrue is 80 hours. No more than 40 hours will be carried past February 1st of the year. Good morning, Emily.
Good morning. Emily Herring, Marshall County Conservation Director. So this changes in the comp time policy for county conservation is fairly similar to what we have already. Our current policy is not functional for staff at this moment in time. And so I'm trying to put something out that actually can be followed and is functional. One of the things that is the change is that 40 hours can be carried over. All other county employees that get comp time can carry over 40 hours. So that is a change from what was previously. We had only 8 hours. I also changed the date. It was April 1st, which in conservation is really when we are starting to go and have our hours quite high. And so the thought process is in February after holidays, my staff is able to get that comp time down to a reasonable level. The basic fact with conservation is we have to roll with the weather and can't control that. And so this is trying to make sure that we have a policy that is functional for us. My board did vote on this at the last meeting in October. So.
Do we have a similar situation or setup here within
No.
secondary roads? No.
There was a
Okay.
2010 policy that was previously for conservation that was attached, and it just took them down to 40 hours, and Emily's wanting to get them down lower, so when they're going into the spring, they can get themselves built back up. And
Yeah, and it's a conversation we have on a regular basis. I have wonderful employees that love their jobs and work hard. So I think this will just be more functional for them to be able to utilize their comp time and be able to accomplish what they need to accomplish and hopefully not go over.
Do we know what the intent was back in 2010 for it to, the carryover being no more than 8 hours?
That was obviously my predecessor, but no, I don't know. I know that was when we bumped it up to 80, I
yeah,
believe.
we went up to 80 at that
Yeah.
time, and the 40 is standard with all of our other employees. That's what the carryover is for everybody else, so that seems fair, that's
Consistent.
consistent with everybody else. So that does seem, just to be, yeah.
Hi.
Thanks, Jeannie.
For now, yeah. So all other employees, the max that they can have is just 40, period. We can't have more than that. So the intent at the time, according to my notes that I have, is that they allowed them, they made an exception to our 40-hour max policy and bumped that up to the 80 because they knew that they have these seasons where they're so busy. Well, the intent is that they wanted to get it down lower because they knew that they would earn much larger amounts, and they were allowing them to do so. And they were kind of trying to force the hand of or force the decision-making in the employees to use it down, knowing that there was these big times where they were going to be earning comp, because you guys don't budget for overtime.
We do not
You
budget for
don't,
overtime.
they don't budget for overtime. So they don't, there's no option to take overtime, so they must
Use
bank,
comp time.
yep, they must earn all that overtime into comp. So that was the intent, is that it was to give them a bigger margin to then earn.
Yeah.
But right, yeah, like she said, it's not
I
functional.
do
It
have a
doesn't-
question. If they leave employment at any time,
It
are
has
they
to-
paid that out?
Yep, so, it's just like overtime, we have to pay it out, so regardless of the circumstances around the employment termination, whether that's voluntary, involuntary, it must be paid out. Yep.
Okay.
So, that's the history.
Thank you.
So yes, we do not budget for overtime. We could discuss that, but I don't know if that's necessarily the route we want to go down. I think that would,
This is consistent with what other departments around the state do, is that correct?
county conservation is all over the place.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. It seems, when I first became director and I was talking to all the other directors, one said, you will find out that every county does everything differently. And so that is what consistently I am finding out, so.
Well, I appreciate the time that you've taken, because we've had conversations about this, so I think I have a good understanding of it. So thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
Nothing else.
All right. Do we have a motion?
I'd make a motion then to approve an exemption in personal policy section 4.3 for Marshall County's conservation regarding compensatory time.
I'll second that.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Solosik.
Yes.
Hibbs.
Yes?
Heil.
Yes. All right, on to number 10, approved purchase of Kubota BR 560 concrete breaker from Central Iowa Farm Store here in Marshalltown for $15,500. Good morning, Paul.
Morning, Paul Geilenfeld, Marshall County Engineer. This is just a replacement of a unit that we have that I think we've probably been using the other one for 12 years. And it's pretty much wore out, and we got a quote to rebuild it, and it cost more than buying a new one, so we're just gonna buy the new one.
All right.
Is that used on the front of a
It's an
skid loader?
attachment. It's an attachment for a skid loader. We can also mount it to excavator, and it's just for like breaking up concrete culverts and things when we're doing structure removal. It's like a giant jackhammer.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of a Kubota BR 560 concrete breaker from Central Iowa Farm Store of Marshalltown for $15,500. The purchase will be paid from the FY 2025 equipment budget.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Thanks, Paul. Roll call, please.
Solosik.
Yes.
Hibbs.
Yes?
Heil.
Yes. Number 11, public forum. Time set aside for the public to make comments on topics of county business other than those listed on the agenda. No action will be taken on these topics brought up in public forum. The floor is yours.
I'm Mark Wyatt, the Greasy Wheel.
Welcome back.
2601 Ridge Road. Hey, we need to get something done with the road where I live on 260th and Ridge. The last time the maintainer came through, the person running it dipped his blade down to where he was cutting below grade on the sides of the road, and making it where it was almost a 4 or 5 inch curb of dirt that was blocking water from going into the ditch. I've actually got a neighbor that lives across from me on Ridge Road that went up to the top of the hill where the water was really coming down and took his shovel and dug a notch so the water would get down into the ditch, and maybe actually using that for dispersing the water, not just cutting out the water rushes down on this dirt curb, that it's one of the places that when you're going up 260th, and I don't remember the yard numbers, but it's getting like, the ruts are getting like, 8-10 inches deep from the water going down because they have nowhere to go. And I think we've gotten away from, I remember I've seen the group be out there before where they bring out, what's the word for it? It's not a backhoe. You use it to dig, when you're digging out the ditches.
Track hole?
Excavator?
And yeah, an excavator, they're cool. And they'll come by and dig out the ditch, and then the road gets shifted over, or gets fashioned to where it actually dumps down into the ditch. You'll notice if you come down 260th, that most of the ditch areas are gotten so full that you can't, or that there's no, the culverts have been blocked because they're so filled up with dirt and debris and such. I know that the ditchway on the north side of my property at 2601 Ridge, that I used to, when I first moved there, the wife says we've been here 9 years, so I used to be able to take a mower and drive down in and maintain the ditch. And you can't do that anymore. You just hear me cussing and yelling at the lawnmower a lot because I keep trying to pull out and the thing keeps jamming up and won't come out of the ditch to even get back up on the roadway. Like I said, I told Steve I hate being the squeaky wheel on this stuff, but after that last pass where the guy came and cut the curb, or cut so far down below grade, it's just made it all the worse. The southeast corner of 260th and Ridge, it's actually, it's got a spot where going across Ridge Road now, I've got a rut that's cut, that the rain has been cutting across Ridge because it can't get into the ditch. It's just, it's got no, water does what water does. We all know that. It finds the lowest or the easiest way to get through, and that's what it's doing. And it's cut this little ridge, or this little culvert, what do you call it, in the middle of the road, going across the intersection there. And I just, like I said, I would really love it if we would come up with some type of an idea that was going to address it. Wintertime's coming, and that's gonna be a bad time to have water and everything accumulate, because then it's gonna turn to ice when it freezes, and it's gonna be a sled run all the way down the hill, okay? I know it's not an easy fix, I get it, I just wanted to have somebody take a peek at it again, please.
Thanks for the update.
Did you have anything for me? No?
James, would you go back down to the view you had before there? So he's showing us the road and the property. Yeah, right there.
We have to wait on anything, or?
Yeah, it's right on the intersection.
It's been an interesting fall. The way things are right now in our rock system is not the way we want them to be. We had 2 months with no rain, and then we got 4 inches of rain in a week. And so that 4 inches of powder that was on top of all the roads just got turned into mud, and our operators really had to hurry around their system, so they weren't able to pause and make sure that everything was, ready for the fair, So we're still chasing our tail, trying to get soft spots rocked, but it's a balancing act because we don't want to just broadcast rock all over the county right now, because if we don't get it seeded into the road bed, then it just ends up getting plowed off with snow. And so we're kind of in recovery mode right now on just the roads that were soft, because the ones that we bladed while it was so dry, all we did was loosen things up, and has a tendency to get really soft. So we're chasing a lot of spots right now, but we don't want that curb on the side of the road. I don't want it anywhere, but it's just a matter of talking to the operators and seeing what their struggles are. So
Thanks, Paul. Other public forum today.
I would
I
like,
don't think Mark's done.
Mind you go up there and say it?
Yeah, just so
Please.
that Mike picks you up.
yeah, so that, yeah.
The, what was I gonna say? The, when you get around, when you're coming up 260th and heading towards 14, there's still a good section where there's this much aggregate sitting on the side of the road, up in a pile, you know, near the ditch. That just, and I think it was, Roger, the guy that lives across the way from me, he had said something about the one that used to be graded, it would be graded within about so far of the ditch. You know, that pass and a half that we've always talked about, that when the unused aggregate was gonna be stored on that side of the alternating side, it was always put about maybe a foot or so off the curb or off the ditch area, so that you could grab it with, when you tilt your blade on the maintainer, you could grab it and bring it back to the middle of the road. And this stuff is just, it's at the ditch. So it's like, there's nowhere to grab it, okay? I mean, my understanding with that thing, so that's the other part to pick up on.
What he's talking about is the windrow that a lot of our operators will leave out there, and they'll let vegetation die down in there, and they will use it to fill ruts and stuff. But it's not every operator keeps windrow out on their roads. It's kind of it's more of an older school method when they're maintaining roads, because a lot of the operators had to deal with, they only get rock once a year. And so they have to keep their rock on the road, and they had to keep some on the side to use for later. Well, we'll still bring our guys rock if we need it for different situations. But it's just a style that each operator has, and we just have to work through the spots like this. And I just want to remind you too that we have 700 miles of rock road. So I mean, each operator has around 90 miles to maintain. So it's not it's a lot bigger picture than what, we have a couple bad spots here and there, but this is a highly residential area.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. There's a lot of people who live
There's
on
not a
these
good place to
gravel
keep a
roads.
windrow there either,
Yeah.
because you're always gonna be in somebody's, right near somebody's driveway, and it's a tough spot to maintain.
Paul, is the blade wider than the machine itself? Can it
Yeah, we
can it
run-
reach out?
I think we run 14-foot moldboards. But
14.
They can, they can.
So they can reach out over, you were talking about that rock that's right on the edge of the break off to the ditch. That actually can be brought back then, it sounds like, with
It's,
the width of the
they
blade.
can't reach down the slope without really rearranging the machine. I mean, they can get the moldboard out there and do things that you wouldn't think the machine could do, but it takes a little while to change that setup. But they can reach out there quite a ways.
So, I guess my question is, is this on the list to work on?
It's just on our constant maintenance list. We don't have any
Yeah.
projects programmed out there, if
Yeah.
that's what you're asking.
Well, your trouble spots that you're chasing, I guess I'm asking if this is one of them that's on your radar.
It's always on my radar. Yep. This, Smith Avenue, is another one that's always a problem. And
Yeah. I'm out on this road in this area, frequently, and it does need attention.
All right, other public comment.
This is Nan Benson. I just wanted to thank all of our poll workers yesterday. When I went around to a few of the locations, our Savior had folks almost out to the road from the church. So they were very patient and kind to everybody. And I want to say all the voters were also very kind, it sounded like, the vast majority to all the poll workers. So we appreciate everyone's patience with the long lines, and very thankful that we had no incidents here in Marshall County. I only had to call one law enforcement person here in the city, so that's not too bad. So
We didn't have any problems with any of the machines?
No, we had one little issue getting things from the one machine to the other on the reporting, and we called a couple of guys, took about 30 minutes. That's why our results were a little delayed, and then people wanted us to, well, just upload it. And I thought, oh, I'd like to double check it, like manually and, but no, that, it went well, and we, like I said, the phone call got us where we needed, and so things went well. But the poll workers worked somebody said they had not eaten since 8 in the morning.
How long a day was that for those folks?
So they started at 6, was set up, polls opened at 7. The vets home, they finished with voters just about 9. They got tickets because they had a long line yet at 8 p.m. So they were our, but the other sites pretty well had everybody through at 8. They didn't have too long a line, but vets home had a long line yet. So you just never know where you're going to have your lines at. But we had a great crew. We had probably about 7 call-ins sick at the end of the day on Monday, but we don't want sick people there working either.
Did you say 7?
Uh-huh.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, but it was fine. It was all fine. It was all at different locations, not all the same one, so it worked out fine. So that's kind of why we always overschedule too for the big ones, so. But thanks to so many people working and the people counting absentees, and it's just a huge crew, and so we just want to thank everybody that helped. It was great. So people were very patient. My staff was great. It was a long, long day.
Well, great job to you and your team. It's always good to get the election over with, just with all the potential things that can happen around the world.
Around the world, you start hearing about, out in Oregon and fires and ballot boxes and weird stuff.
None of that here.
Poor Story County has got
Yeah, they
14 locations to hand count.
Yeah.
And, so they got a lot going on over there, I feel, for them, definitely. So,
Do you think this is a record early voting for Marshall County, or?
2020, we beat it, but that was COVID.
How many early votes?
We were 8,500, 8,300. It was, so we were 12,020.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It, with the, just is a little bit different dynamic there with the COVID time, but, and it was really the mail out initially, because we mailed out 70 or 6,400 ballots initially in 2020, and we just mailed out 1,700 initially here, and that was really the difference. So really our in-person absentee was about the same.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Great. Any other public comment today? I'd like to add that our local option sales tax did not pass yesterday, and so I think there was some confusion in the wording on it. You get the legal wording of these things on the ballot that made it appear as if it was a new tax. And so we'll be working with our attorney that drafted that up to see if that can be drafted up differently, because I did have some people reach out with some confusion on that. And without that passing, that's a $1.7 million tax increase to the people of Marshall County. There is time.
To property tax.
To property tax. And so there is time to have this on the ballot in March for that to go in effect by the time that it expires in July. And looking into whether we need to do signatures again on the ballot again, or resolution. I know previous code said you could do a resolution joint with the city of Marshalltown would get us to that 50% threshold for it to not have to get signatures. So that could be an option that's outside of having to get signatures. Otherwise, we need that completed by first week of December, timing-wise, for March, right around the corner. So I think due to just some of that confusion on that, I'd like to see this one looked again, have the voters take one last look at it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate the wording wasn't correct.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was necessarily. I don't understand the legal ways that that's put together. So I don't necessarily think if it was incorrect. It's what other ways could have it been worded legally correctly that's more understandable to the people. And And we'll work with our attorneys on that. And it's not our local county attorney, it's
No.
our Allers and Cooney attorney that we use, so. But there'll be more to hear from that as we move forward. And obviously, that does have potential budgetary ramifications, so we'll be looking at looking at two budgets as we're doing one, because it's in the prime time of budget time, so.
All right,
Yay.
yeah.
Last chance on public comment before we have a next closed session on item number 12.
Okay.
All right.
I'll make the motion that we enter into closed session pursuant to Section 21.5, Section 1, Paragraph G of the Code of Iowa, to discuss specific law enforcement matters such as current or proposed investigations or inspection or auditing techniques or schedules that would enable law violators to avoid detection
9:42.
at 9:42.
I'll second.
We have the motion and the second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Solosik.
Yes.
Hibbs.
Yes.
Kyle.
Yes.
That is from Don. That, I assume if we have a
Thanks, Mark.
contract from COT Systems that it's,
Well, we'll have to probably
I have it on agenda. Yeah.
Zach and Kyle just wanted to know,
Right, that's in full.